Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Yes, I can only hear voices, but I
Hello.
can only see the beautiful photos. Okay. So I hope everyone is doing okay and very healthy and well inside in wherever you are. Okay. All right. So my name is Wani from Top Foresight. I see a lot of familiar faces. Welcome back, and then many also first time joined these free learning sessions. Welcome, and as usual, we'll continue to share with you more subjects in the area of performance management. And today is a continuation of series from the sessions that we have conducted before. And without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker for today, Mr. Anthony E.L. Tan, to come over and get it started with the session already. Please welcome Anthony.
Cannot hear you, Anthony. Sorry. You're muted.
Unmute yourself, your mic, Anthony.
Yeah, so sorry. These are some of the challenges that we had to encounter in Zoom sessions. First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome all of you to these 1 hour plus sessions. Okay. As what Wani had mentioned, I'm not mistaken, this is probably our number 9 session for this year. Because every month we come up with different areas of topics. Okay, but today's session actually, in fact, if you ask me, is by far the most important aspect of managing performance. Unfortunately, organizations tend to look at KPI, tend to look at system, but I will tell you one thing. In my many years of work and working with organizations, I'll discover that failures usually comes not because they don't use a good system, but the framework development is actually one of the most critical things which I want to share with you today. All right. So without much ado, let's start the sessions. Now, what I would like to recommend a couple of things which all you can do for me is this. We're going to communicate. I always like to have a live sessions, which means to say I just don't want it from one side to, so you can actually communicate with me. Now, a couple of things you can do is when I go through the session, if there's any point you want to stop me or you say, Anthony, can you pause for a while and you want me to elaborate certain things, you can stop me. 2 things, what you can do is you can go to the chat and key in the questions. Okay, I will be able to pick it up. If I can't pick it up, Wani will pick it up, Pavi will pick it up for me. So it's not to worry. So second thing is I would also like to have some form of communication. So I will say, if you're ready, can you go to the chat and everybody key a 1 or do I prefer to use simple number. Don't have to put yes, no, anything. Just put in 1. We are ready, just key a 1 and then we can start the sessions. All right, guys. Good. Let's go and have a good session today. All right. Today's topics is a little bit different from all the other topics we got because those are quite specific things. But today's is actually the foundation of everything. I told you already. Success and failure of any organization in driving performance is never about whether you have people for KPI or not. It's always about whether the reward are being distributed fairly or not. Whether the people, for example, feels that a company has been fair to them or not. And sometimes it's not the company is not fair to them. Probably the management has been fair, but sometimes because you don't have a proper framework, you reach to a situation, there will be some ambiguity and people think, management is not fair to me. So today I want to address this issue. And of course, I want to address also other aspects of it. So with this, I want to share with you my screenshot. All right. Very good. Let me just open up. It's here. So I'm going to go to these presentations. Let me just reduce a little bit of the thing here. Okay. All right. Today's topic is very simple, putting in place a comprehensive performance management framework. Now, as usual, you know very well, you will get this material in PDF file, okay, toward the end of the sessions. You get, Pavi or Wani will then send to you by emails, or even today, for example, to the end of sessions, they will put for you in the chat, then you can download the material. So it's quite straightforward. The materials I give to you will operate or function the same thing. The only things that what I showed you here is a PowerPoint. What you get is PDF. But let me tell you this, don't understand it, the power of today's. Whatever I click, you can also click on the PDF here. All right. Now, if you want to know a little bit about me, some of you who are new, okay, you can actually click, let's say, click here or click anywhere here under the presentation. You can actually see my, what I call my introduction myself. So I want to spend too much time into that very quickly. Now, today's topic is putting in place a comprehensive performance management framework. And I say is mission critical. I've seen a company who spent millions of dollars in acquiring systems for their organizations. And sometimes people say, oh, ICT doesn't work, or you can't drive. And the problem is not so much as the system problem, but because in the first place, if the company doesn't know what you want to do, how to drive it, it's not going to be successful. All right. So to me, it's mission critical. So basically, I will divide the topic into 4 areas. An overview. I'll just explain to you what are the current issues, and of course, how to actually areas you need to address, and other considerations. So let's go through an overview very quickly. All right. Now, basically, as I mentioned to you, one of the important elements today, basically, I know we all face hard time, difficult time, and COVID-19, this pandemic is very unprecedented. It really forces the world to change. And one of the key elements today is this: we must be able to achieve sustainability. It's not about whether we can survive today or not, but whether we can make sure we can survive in the long term. And as far as I'm concerned, the most important fundamental areas is how does organization reward people effectively, not just fairly, but must be effectively in manner that actually can lead to some form of quantification of performance. The other important aspect today is we must know how to motivate employee. You cannot say you're doing well. We also need to have some structure in which how we motivate them. And more importantly is the ability to generate commitment from every single staff from the very beginning until the end of the year, okay? And not just toward the end of the year. So motivating people throughout the duration is really a challenge, and it's a very important fundamental that all of us must address, all right? So I think that's a very important part. So the other important areas which we all find is that sometimes the employee doesn't believe in the organization, thinking that the system is not fair. As I mentioned to you just now, the management could be fair, but it could be misconstrued to that management are not fair and biased toward how we're going to reward people. Now, of course, I start with this area because eventually the framework is the foundation of making sure we can reward performers and talent. And it must be transparent across the whole organizations. I work with many organizations, and a lot of times sometimes I ask the top executive, how do you decide to give reward? And very often it's a very personal decision. The minute it is a personal decision to think you perform, you don't perform, that becomes an issue here. Today, we must make decisions not on a personal basis, but on a structural approach. All right, so I think that's a very important part. So why so important? That's right, we need to have a comprehensive performance management framework. In fact, I consider it as the most important building block that all guys must get it right the first time, period. It's not why you're going to spend a lot of time doing KPI. You can say try KPI, but if your framework are not done properly, I think that will be a problem. Now, basically what I will do is I'm going to share 2 things here. Number 1, to understand the problem, we need to understand what are the issues are we encountering in the typical organizations. What are those challenges? All right. So we're going to look at current issues about performance management framework. The next part I want to share with you is how then we develop a sustainable performance management framework. Okay. Once you understand this already, then you will understand basically what is it that we need to put in place. All right. If you're ready, I click back again. Let's go back to the current issues. Now, let me just share with you something quite interesting. All right, this is a current issue. Now, everybody, now this is something that we extracted out from an organization, okay, to show you that, and this organization specifically, they have a framework. All right, they have a framework. Now, what is wrong with this framework? Okay, I want you to all spend about maybe 2-3 minutes and look at it. Do you have an organization have a framework, performance management framework? Now, this is a typical framework. Okay, so this is actually a real application of an organization that have a framework. So they name it category, they look at processes and things like this. They decided, okay, what are the job positions and everything else. Now, I want you to spend a quick 1 minute to look at this framework. Does it sound familiar? Does it look familiar? All right. Is there anything wrong with this framework? Just spend a quick 1 minute to look at it. All right. Just spend 1 minute to look at it to see whether there's anything wrong with this framework. And this is a real example. And there are, of course, other examples, but this is just one of the examples that I thought of just pick it up and share it with you this. So anyone can tell me, is there anything wrong with this framework? You can just key into the chat, just key in. If you tell me there is something wrong, just let me know what you think is wrong with this framework. All right. Okay, let's go in now. I will tell you what is very wrong with this framework. Okay, let's go in now. I want to share with you what is wrong with this framework. First of all, there is an issue of interpretation. Okay, yeah, of course, it's a branch GM is higher than the director. Yeah, I think you actually nailed on something quite interesting here. All right, I think Serene, thank you very much. I think that's a very good contribution. You nail it in a certain way, but let's systematic and go through with this. Firstly, if you look carefully here, it say, okay, sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry, you look carefully here, okay, and it say category. Can you see on the left, top right-hand side, top management, senior management, executive, non-executive 1, executive 2. Basically, it is not a category. It is a job level. Now, it's very important when you want to do performance, precision is everything. We cannot simply interchange words and meaning. Then we're going to have a problem. There is a difference between job level and job category. Okay, let me just quickly show you what's the difference. This is a job level. This is a category. A category means simply you look at a category of a job and things like this. All right. So the first thing that is wrong with this particular thing is that they create a category. You should always create a job level. All right. So what I'm saying is that this is not a soundproof approach on how to do performance management. All right. So you have to look at it very clearly. All right. So you can see this or not. So you have to understand. We cannot simply say, oh, we're going to call a level, we're going to call a category. We can't, because in performance management, if you want to do data mining, later part, because like it or not, technology will be our forefront in driving organization business and driving organization processes. And precision in technology depend on precision of definition. All right. So this is one issue here. Okay. Now, what is the second problem? Inconsistent in how the rates are assigned to the job category and job grade cluster. In fact, Shireen, you nail it, because actually that is a problem. Now, the important part is I'm not worried about what big title you give to an individual. You see, managers, group manager, assistant manager, everywhere, even a manager, group manager is considered just an executive. He's not even under a management level. Now, when you start to create this kind of complexity, you create a lot of problems. Of course, some people will tell me, oh, but this is the nature of the business. Then you have to decide. You can give a title than the name card, but in the process of driving performance from the process standpoint, you cannot afford to do that, because that will not be a good way of doing it. Can you see or not? You have a restaurant group manager, you have kitchen manager, but they are considered an executive. Then you have assistant manager, you have a manager, they are considered management. Okay. Now, this is very confused and very complex. You cannot do this kind of thing. So we need to have some method in which how you want to look at it. All right. So you can see this is very interesting, that how the inconsistency in which how you do it. If you don't have a proper method, this is a problem. Now, especially if your company now growing to become great in the future. If you don't address this from the very beginning, I would say small company, if you're a small company, this is the best opportunity to build a foundation to become good and great company. All right, so this is something very important. The management category in this case, which is in this case a job level, is too broad. Okay, now we will never encourage senior manager and manager and assistant to be one category. The minute you give a person a senior manager, it is actually a very high level already. I will not call you a senior manager for the sake because I want you to work for me, but responsibility and fundamentals are very different. So you cannot have one job category, job level and put down senior manager, managers, and so forth. All right. So I just want to share with you, this is very challenging as far as I'm concerned. It's very, very challenging. It is a real life situation of how organization just simply don't pay attention to details. Okay. So that will show you another problems. All right. Let's look at the next one. Okay. Inconsistent in the naming convention used for the job position. Some people tell me, Anthony, this is such a small thing. Why do you want to emphasize and talk about this? Let me ask you one question. In the next 5 years, are you going to do data mining? In the next 5 years, are you going to use technology to help you to drive your business or not? And you and I have to agree one thing, data mining is critical. Whether you like it or not, we must have a way to do data mining. And to do able to do data mining, the first important ingredient is your primary data must be organized correctly. This is a very important part, okay? So inconsistent and naming convention you in the job position. If you look carefully here, I just want to share with you. Some have manager. Manager, it doesn't tell you what manager. Some have operation manager. Some have manager general title, okay? And sometimes you have this problem, senior restaurant group manager. This is a problem because you can't do that because you couldn't have a problem. I give you an example here. Let's have a look here. All right. Now, there are two conventions in which you can do job numbers. You can have a sales manager, you have a project manager. On the other hand, we can use a different method called level followed by functions. That means we start with the manager followed by function sales. Now, what I find typically most companies make a mistake in the sense that this guy is a sales manager. So when you promote him, he becomes senior sales manager. Now, that is a no-no thing because if you want to do data mining, you cannot afford to do it. You have to be very clear. Senior manager is a level or a category. Sales is a function. You don't go and spread senior sales manager. Okay, I find this is very interesting, especially in the construction industry. I always find many people have this title called senior project manager. Now, actual fact, by right, you cannot do that. You either put project senior manager project. Now, let me share. I've worked with big clients, I work with organizations, and they always tell me one thing. Thank you very much, because we didn't realize that such a small detail can have a big impact in how we can use technology to drive performance in the organizations. All right. So this is just to share with you that is so important. Now you're going to look at your job position to see I'm quite confident enough that many of you might have this little problem here. So you can see that you cannot afford to do things like this. By right, this should be either you put good senior group manager restaurant if you want to do that. All right. So you have to be very, very specific about this. Okay, so you cannot have two different titles. So if you decided to have function come first, it will be training manager, it will be restaurant senior group manager. So you can see it's inconsistent. Sometimes you do like this, sometimes you do something like this, sometimes you define things in a very different manner. So you can see here, very interesting, look at restaurant group manager. So what happened is when the guy got promoted, it becomes senior restaurant group manager. Correctly, it should be restaurant senior group managers. All right. So these are little details are very important. That is provided you want to do data mining here. All right. Now, once you have to understand that all organizations must take the advantage of using technology to drive the business. And if you want to do that, you must use data mining as a tool to conduct talent development and succession planning. That is a very important aspect of it, all right? And you allow the organization to take advantage of using technology. So we cannot afford to repeat a lot of things in any manner. Okay, I'm going to end this session here to talk about the issue. Anyone got any issue, any question you want to ask, you can post to me now. Then we can look at what it takes to develop the right framework. In many ways, I actually covered some of the things here already. All right. If you are ready, you just key a 2 for me, then we'll proceed to talk about how to develop a good framework, everyone. All right. If you have a question, you can just post it there. It's not a problem. Very good. So I think everyone feels that it's not a problem. So let's go back to the main subject matter. Now, the next part, this is what today's all about, developing a sustainable performance management framework. Okay, let's go through it. To do that, there are actual fact, there are few things that you need to put in place. First, I will explain to you, standardize the job naming convention. Okay, of course, if you don't intend to use technology to drive your business, then this is of no relevancies. But if you want to do technology, then this becomes important. The second important part, in order to do performance, you need to understand how many job levels you need to have. All right. The third part is you need to understand what category, job category can we assign so that we don't simply go and put everywhere and in such a manner it doesn't work. Rationalize your job grading system. I find this is a problem because I find that many companies don't have a proper job grading system. All right. Then we will go into the distributions aspect of it so that you can see how things can be distributed. All right. So that is basically the most important aspect in sustainable performance. This is to give you the big picture. If you want to do a performance management framework, these are the 5 things an organization must attend to it. Okay. Now, I think I've covered this already. This is just to reinforce the standardized thing. Now, if you look at this example here, you can see, and these are, whatever I give to you are actually real case, a real situation here. So look on the left-hand side here, you can see admin manager. Then you have assistant manager with no function. Then senior executive no function. Okay, then you have senior executive secretary. All right, then you have cost management assistant manager. Then you have senior account. Even this itself is a problem. All right. So HR, sometimes you don't pay to attention to such details. All right, it's a problem. Somebody has to look into it so that you can see where these are very important part of what we need to do. So that's the reason why just now I covered this. So it's always important that number one, you must create a standardized of naming conventions. I work with many organizations, and one of the things is that out of 10 companies, I will tell you easily, 9 companies have problems. And I always tell top executive, you must bite the bullet. Okay, you either get it right or you will suffer for the next 10 years. It doesn't matter what system you use. You can use the best system in the world. It's going to help. It's going to help you. Now, I will tell you why. Because in 2019 in Malaysia, one of the top companies in Malaysia used a very expensive system or a branded system that cost, I think, about $12 million to implement. They end up, what happened was that each one countersued the other, all right? Because, and the real issue lies is not whose fault. The fault was that they didn't do cleanup of their data, all right? So the best system is not going to work for you. So that is very important, all right? So this is quite critical. It looks not significant, but it's very critical. So what I also recommend that if you want to do that, those of you who HRMS system, any kind of HRMS system, tell them you want to have both naming convention framework built into HRMS system. Let me tell you, this is going to be very powerful because once you do that, you can do tremendous data mining, especially you want to do succession planning, you want to do talent management, you want to do promotions, okay? This will allow you to decide on how you want to do that already. So this is one of the most important part in driving performance frameworks. The next part, okay, just to share with, of course, here, this is just, I mean, I don't go into sample, so let's move on. We've got time, and we'll look into it here. All right. The next important part is level. You have to decide how many levels are there going to be in your organization. A company who has 7 levels, a company has 6 levels, a company 5 levels, depend on the number of levels that you have. So you can have executive management, senior management level, and so forth. Now, what each level will do basically is that you decide, okay, of course you can rename all these things, not a problem. For renaming for me of what level is prerogative of the organization, how they want to look at it. But more important thing is you need to create a hierarchy structure level of how you're going to position each of the job category into each of the job level. So this is a very important part of the things that you have to do, all right? So take for example, this is actually one example here, which means what I'm trying to say is number one. Sorry, you need to decide what are the levels. Okay, you can have 6 levels, 5 levels, 7 levels, it's not a problem. So first thing first, get this thing right first, all right? I always tell companies, forget about system first. You don't even get the fundamental right, any system will not help you. Then the next thing, decide. So, okay, what are the job category you want to assign, okay? Some categories are quite straightforward because a general manager, senior manager, manager, executive, get this thing right, all right? Of course, there could be some very special areas like accountants, specialists, engineers, because they know even the word accountant can be very misleading because accountant can be a very senior position, accountant can be a very junior position, depending on which organization you're in. All right, so these are a very important aspect. You need to do that. All right. So in other words, so what is also very important, you cannot have a job category split into 2 different levels. Okay, just now we see the earlier example, you have manager here, manager there, manager everywhere. So it's not a good practice to do that, all right? So once you have your job level, okay, what you need to do basically is you will then decide what are the category, then you decide who goes into each of the area here, all right? So this is the building block. Okay, this building block will help you in many, many ways, not just reward. Of course, I emphasize on the reward because this was actually the most important element you need to put in place. All right, so you have to have the job level. You need to have, you need to know your job category and so forth. Okay, so these are something that I think is very important that you have to get it right here. Okay, anyone got any questions for this? Or are you very familiar with this framework part? All right, so you have to make sure you get all these things done in the correct manner. Okay, the next part in putting a performance standard is we also decided we had to decide what kind of job grade method you want to use. Okay, traditionally it has been alphabetical. EM1, EM2, ES1, SM2, and NE1, NE2, or whatever it is. The government of Malaysia used a numeric method, 31, 30, 29, 28, and so forth. All right, so they use a numeric number. Now, for me, it's very important is that it doesn't matter what method we use. Of course, my recommendation is I would prefer to use a numeric approach, but using a cluster method. All right. So in other words, to be clear on how the numbering works, whether big number refer to, so in other words, all these things must be very upfront. Big number means high, small number means low. You have to be very clear. So let me just show you an example. Okay. So it is highly recommended, okay, to have assigned by cluster and not just on the running number across the organization. So which means to say, I will give you an example. Now, government, what they do is they go running number. Now, I don't recommend running number. I recommend cluster. Junior mentioned, I start with 20, 22, 23. Middle mentioned 31, 32, 33. Senior mentioned 41, 42, 43. All right. And very important, there shouldn't be any, what you call, same job level across the level. So that is a very important part in setting up a sustainable performance management framework. Okay. So in other words, this is the approach that I would have recommended. So we have done this for many organizations, it proved it very powerful. So this is just to give an example. So you need to have several job grading, like in this case, 11, 12, and 13 for non-executive, 21, 23, 24 for supervisory level, junior management, 31, 32. Of course, there's an overlapping here. Put it this way, some companies disagree on it, some can agree on it. I think it's not important. Important is you set the rules, you decide how you want to apply the rules, whether it's going to be what we call overlapping in this case, okay, across a senior executive and executive, all right? Then you have middle management, one category. Remember I told you, you always put senior management. Senior management is a very senior position, so you always be very clear. Try to follow some standard convention. Don't just give a title for the sake of it. So this is a standard convention. This is actually used by Temasek Holding in Singapore. They're actually using the numeric number, but they use a cluster method. The government use running number 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 until whatever number that you want to create it. Okay, but the cluster method is actually a better method. It is what we call best practice, which means to say that when you do a cluster method, I can add 35 without affecting the top, without affecting the bottom. All right, so this is one of the things that we need to do. Now, of course, some people ask me, Anthony, but I still want to use my SM1, SM2. Now, this is very important. If you decide to use SM1, SM2, you must be very clear that SM1, in this case, must be 51. SM2 must be 52. Why? Because later part, you want to add one more position if you do the other way. And that's why many companies got stuck with this problem because they never think about putting the framework in the correct order here. Okay, so this is just to share with you what framework you need to do to put in place here. So this is the first thing that you had to address first. All right. Okay. Questions? Anyone got any questions, please? Are you familiar with framework? Okay, I'll just do a simple demo here. This is just a demo. I'm going to just click on the demo and show you. This is a tool that we help company to add a demo so that you can actually select and add a position. If you want to add a position, a job level, you can customize it. It's not a problem. You can choose any job grade you want to put it in. You can assign and you can actually organize in this particular manner. All right. Of course, here we're using numeric. You can change to alphabetical if you wanted to. You can actually choose the numeric in this case. Yeah. So we use a tool, in this case, a smart tool, where what happened is the data are all, we don't go and waste our time to go and figure out what to do already. Once management make a decision and management decided how you want to do it already, then we use a smart tool to actually do it. So you can actually do in this manner. Of course, you can actually use an Excel to create your own smart tool as well. That is not the issue, but the issue here that is basically I want to share with you. This is how we will organize the data. Okay. So I'm going to save it. Okay. So once we have done that already, let's go to the next part. Okay. The next part is about distribution. Okay. You can't do the distribution until you get this fundamental right. So the next part is how you do a distribution. Okay, distributions are very important. That means to say, at the very beginning, we must have an idea how we want to do a distribution. Now, for me, what percentage you assign to each distribution is not critical because I work with so many companies. The percentage for one company do varies, but there are some ground rules that you must follow. The first ground rules is very simple, is that in a performance management, you have to be very clear that, in other words, it is not just based on individual performance. Today, you have to take into account of operating unit. You have to take into account organization performance. In fact, this is one of the most successful models used by Allianz International Insurance Company, the German company. The German company were using this model way back in the 90s. So what they do basically is they say, okay, your final rating is a combination of yourself, the staff performance, combination of organization performance and company operating unit performance. Why is so important? This is actually the most important ingredient for you to make sure that rewards are done fairly and effectively. So what it does basically is this. For individual, in terms of the percentage, is the more senior you are, your personal individual contribution becomes much smaller. Okay, the A here will be 20, the B here will be 40, and the C here will be 40. Okay, as you go to the non-executive in this situation, the A here is 90%, the B here is 5%, and the C here is 5%. All right, so basically is there are certain conditions that you need to apply to put a framework. So you have to think through all these things correctly and make sure the assignment of what you want to do must be done. This is one very important ground rules that if you want to put a framework in place, you have to do this. Okay. Now, the next part is this. For operation unit, it's the other way around. The more senior you are, the higher the percentage you hold for operation performance, which means that in this case today, we do not just measure individual performance. We have to be fair. We have to measure each operating unit if we want to measure their performance. And there must be a correlation to the individual by the level. And of course, in this case, we also might want to measure organization performance. All right, so that will give you an idea about how the different frameworks need to be organized here. Now, let me explain to you what is the significance. The significance of this framework is like this. This is called, before toss, you have to play it. So if I'm a senior manager and I get 3.5 in my personal rating, a junior manager might also get 3.5 in the personal rating. The final rating is not the score of the individual. The final rating is now a combination of the individual, the operating unit, and the organization. Which means to say, to be fair, if the operating unit and organization don't perform well, no matter how well you score as a senior manager, all right, you are not going to get a lot of rating. All right, this is a very important part. I just share with you one interesting exercise that we did in 2015 with a top-notch company. All right. Now, last time there was always this issue here. When I say reward must be distributed fairly across the whole organization. So a unit got maybe about 8 people. Okay, but the unit didn't do well. Okay, but the senior manager in that unit still enjoy good bonuses because you know why? His personal rating is good because there was never taken into consideration. The only difference was that the allocation, because the unit didn't do well, the bonus allocation is smaller. But what he does, basically, he shared with everybody and he rated himself very highly and the boss rated himself very highly. And at the end of the day, the staff will not be happy. So, but by using this framework, we actually resolve this issue really. So I don't care what you score here for senior management. As long as your operating do well, organization don't do well, you are not going to score well. All right. The junior guy, we call this level as the driver. We call this level as a doer. So if you're a doer, the percentage of personal distribution has to be higher so that eventually you create a very fair structure of reward. And the reward will come from how you set up the framework here. All right. So I will tell one thing is that we've done exercise for company and you can see there is a much, people are much more happier because now the decision is not made by whether the boss thinks you perform or not. Okay, you can, even the senior can perform very well. He can pull down by his operating unit and organization performance. I can have 2 senior guys who might score very well and one didn't score well for operation, his final rating will come down and eventually his reward will be affected. So this is, for me, is the most important fundamental. Of course, to do this, all right, we need to have, as far as I'm concerned, you need to have what we call job categories, define your job category, define your job level, and how you want to distribute this framework. So that's the reason why when we launch our cloud solutions, the clients are very happy because once decided at the end of the year, it's just only agree on the performance parameters, it's just agree on the moderations, and then you roll out, you were able to distribute the reward in a very fair manner. All right, so basically this is, sorry, I don't go this first. So that will actually provide you the important thing, okay? All right, yeah, okay. Any question here, guys? All right. So if there's no questions, I will proceed to go to the next part here. All right. Now, once you have the framework, okay, you can do a couple of things already. Okay. Today, I just only give an overview. For example, in this situation here, the personal individual, so individual performance, individual will depend on the work performance, the competency, and other contributions. Okay. Then the organizations will depend on, you have to come up with a KPI measure, quantitative measure for each operating unit. You need to have a quantitative measure defining what is organizational performance. And please bear in mind, it might not just purely on revenue. There should be other factor about whether if you do balanced scorecard methodology, then we have to measure whether how the organization doing well in terms of human capital development. How does the organization do well in terms of your qualities? How does it well in terms of efficiency? And of course, the value proposition in terms of what you want to drive for the customers. So with this, you put this in place so that eventually you were able to drive the performance of an organization in this manner. Okay, so this is to give you an idea about how bonuses are distributed. So bonuses, in this case, once you have a framework, the final rating normally will be used to determine the bonuses. All right, how much bonus you give. And bonus depend on the prerogative of the organizations. All right. In terms of increment and promotions, it will be based on one very important fundament is competencies, because we cannot reward somebody well just because he's good, but more important, whether he has the right skill set, the right attitude, the right behavior. And of course, it must also correlate to his work performance, whether it really contributes to his work performance or not. So that is basically a very important part that if we want to drive performance, this is what I will always get it right. So when I do my consulting work with my clients, especially where we take 2 months and so forth, the first thing I do within the first 1 week of exercise was to put all these things in place so that eventually we are very clear how we want to drive performance. So there's no if and buts on how we define who is going to get what result and so forth. Okay, so this is a very important part of the framework development. Okay. All right. So everybody quite clear about this already? Have anybody in your organization implement something like this yet? And maybe you share with me what are the things that you think that you want me to answer, or is there any changes? Yeah. Sorry? Okay. Are you all familiar with framework or not, first of all? Did any of your organization do something like this, or your decision-making process of bonuses, increments is decided by the management to end the year? Okay, there was a question. Do we need job grade if we really have job category? Okay, Wan Han, you see, job category, okay, to understand this better, let me just go back again to understand this better. I want to move back again here. All right. Now, let me explain to you why job grading is very important. I give you a very simple scenario. Assuming today you want to recruit an executive for a particular operation. Now, when you have a job grade, you can decide, I want to recruit an executive. Now, the executive could be fresh graduate, and the executive you recruit could have more than 1 year experience in an organization. Now, so of course, if a person who just be a junior, just come out to work and fresh on the study, so generally speaking, the company can set a ground rule that this individual, I will only give him 31 grade. Then you have another executive who has more than 2 years experience, all right? You can't give him 31 grade because 31 grade means there is a salary band. When you do a job grade, you define the salary band. Then this guy got 2 years experience already, I will straight away give him grade 32. All right, so then not only that, you also, by having grade, you also provide a methodology in how people can be promoted. Now, take for example, now if I'm going to be a senior manager, in order to get to become the middle manager, this senior executive must have minimum grade 34 before he can be promoted to become the next one, assistant manager. All right, so Guan Hin, you have to understand this. So grading systems are very important. In fact, small company, you have to start getting it right first, doesn't matter. This will help you to do your recruitment. You also define that the recruitment are done in the most proper manner. Okay, so the framework can do a lot of things for you. All right, so that's basically what I would like to do. Second questions, all right, I think there's another questions we'll ask there. Okay, how do transfer about framework? Does it mean that we disclose percentage for each segment of performance rating? The answer is yes. In our system, we are very transparent. Assuming I open my placer form after I show it to you, after I just do a simple demo with you, you were able to see the where are the areas they're going to contribute into your performance areas. All right. So different people will have different. If I'm a senior manager, you will see his distribution. For executive, we'll see his distribution. Because at the end of the day, you have to give him the confidence to say that the scoring comes from the way how these things are distributed. All right. So it's very important that you have to be. It's no point you have a grading system and nobody knows what it is. You have a framework nobody wants it. And the first thing that we do is we will tell company, this is how organization is going to drive you. People have to have confidence in how the company is going to conduct itself in driving performance. Then you can get them to be motivated. Okay, I think that's a very important part here. All right. All right. So, okay, this is just to share with you. So of course, I just move forward. Okay, so that actually covers the whole framework. Now, just to do a summary, okay, these are very important parts. I will recommend all of you is like this, especially if you don't have a framework now, don't worry too much about it. Number one, start to clean up first. I share with you one exercise. Okay, there's another question. How does other related job type means? Okay, other related job type, just to share with you to have a better understanding this. I think that's a very good question. Now, other related job type is like this. Now, sometimes in some organizations, we give simple title, manager, executive, but there are cases that you have engineer, you have specialists. Some companies say sales specialist. What is sales specialist? We don't use a standard convention, job category convention. We use a different name, all right? So in this case, I can define secretary. So secretary cannot appear here, cannot appear here. If you want to have a secretary, you must be senior secretary. If you have accountant here, you want to put under, you cannot have accountant appear here. So this accountant here must be defined. Actually, is this a senior manager, a middle management, or a junior management? So other related means I work with many organizations. They have very, very interesting title. There's sales specialists. They have, for example, if I were to show some of the very interesting thing, you have. Let me just go back here and share with you this. Let me just go back here and share with you this. All right. Now, if you look at this, you can have sous chef. Is this okay? What does it mean here? Okay. You can, for example, let's say I put leasing specialist. What is his position? Of course, here we're quite clear he's actually a senior executive, but as leasing specialist can also be an executive as well. Okay, so I think that's a very important part that you have to understand how does it work here. Okay, another question. Today we have, I'll just bring up some of the interesting, we have a dilemma with whether in order to attract talent, we have to use pay to bring the talent in, and it might be incongruent with the job level or job category. So how do we normalize the predicament? Our employer feels that they are shortchanged when we bring new people in. Okay, now let me just share with you this. The problem why you have this problem because you don't have a job grading system. You don't have a job grading. If you have a job grading system, this problem will not arise, Dr. Wilson. I just want to share with you this. So the job grading system will have to come in. If I bring a new people in, I have to know he belongs to what category, what grade. Is he a senior executive? Is he going to be a middle executive? Things like this. So the job grading is a very important fundamental. All right. That's why job gradings are very, very important to help you to solve this problem. I have worked with clients. In fact, currently it's very interesting. I work with a Japanese organization as well. They have business interests throughout whole Malaysia. And in the past, I have to share with you the problem with how they acquire a company was in the past, they just come to Malaysia, acquire one company, acquire a company, and that, so several companies comes together. And each of the company has their own way of looking at job positions and so forth. And it comes to a point that eventually there's an issue because this position in this company is this. This position in this company is that. So what they need to do, it was a very good exercise. Now with this method, they actually clean it up. Of course, if they had to change the naming of a job title in the current position because he belonged to a job grade, then you just have to change his position. All right. So Dr. Wilson, that is basically how to sweep. That's why the job grading system, let me just go back first. Sorry, my apology here. The job grading system is very important. That will help you to solve these very important issues that we're talking about here. Okay. All right. The good news, I want to tell you one thing is this. Today, I just only give you an overview. We're going to run a virtual workshop on the 6th and 7th, all right, on the 6th and 7th, all right. Now, this virtual workshop is actually 2 half-day sessions. Now, the advantage of this virtual workshop is I not only cover framework, I cover a couple of things here, all right. Number one, basically, is how do we reward people effectively, okay? How do you enhance talent and acquire new skills? So basically, I want to solve this problem. Second part, this is what I covered today. The second part of this workshop also, because they are all interrelated. So I also need to understand and help you to understand how to grow and retain talents. So this is also a very important part. So we need to make sure provide individual a roadmap, indication of behavior, require skill set, job knowledge that are valued and recognized and rewarded. And to do that, you have to have a competency framework. Now, this is just what we call a performance distribution framework. You also need to have a competency framework. So this is basically what we were doing. And in this workshop, basically, I will provide you a method using technology, using smart tools to achieve a sustainable performance and competency framework so that we can reward, grow, and retain talents. Okay, I will cover a little bit detail later on. I'm going to share with you what we're going to do in this workshop first. All right, so this is actually just to give you a prelude about what we're going to cover. Of course, here we only just share with you, but in the workshop, we will go into the details. We will provide you the tools, how you can actually do it in this manner. But of course, some people ask me the questions. I have cases ask me, but Anthony, if I don't, can I actually do this? The answer is absolutely not a problem. You can actually do it yourself. You can use an Excel to do it. You can actually create the things that we want to do here. All right. Dr. Wilson, have I answered your question? My apology. Did I answer your questions?
Yes, Tony. Anthony, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, welcome then. Yeah, I just want to make sure I answered. I could have missed up something, so I'm not too sure about that. All right. So basically, everybody has to be very clear. Okay. So my answer to you is very simple. Please, especially senior management, spend some time and making sure how you want to drive your organization, how you want to bring your company forward. Please pay attention to come up with a framework. It doesn't matter how you come up. Every company are different, but you have to make sure all this must be defined at the very, very beginning. Of course, company out there, can we change the distribution? You don't have a problem with it the minute you come up with a framework, but you put in a manner in which it is very fair and people understand how the company are distributing the performance in this manner. Okay. All right. Now let's look at other considerations. I don't want to spend too much time here. Now, so basically, I also want to share with you some of the challenges. I've worked with quite a lot of organizations, and the other issues we also find one thing is the assessment method used today is just too subjective. When I say too subjective, simply means to say that many organizations always use, oh, we're using this KPI approach to do it. Now, one of the reasons it's very subjective is because you don't have a framework. Second thing is there's also another problem. Many are very confused. Actually, what is a KPI? What is OKRA? What's a KRA? What's a KFA? All of us are drowned with all these different different definition of different things. Okay, and the problem is that one company called KPI, another company called OKRA, another company called KRA, another company called KFA. And sometimes I feel that consultants ourselves, we are the guilty parties. Okay, so very, very important thing. This is all one of the major issues. So you can have the framework. The next part you also need to do is to solve the assessment part. Some people say a good system is a good tool. No, I think tools are just enabler. But garbage in, garbage out. If you key in the wrong information, you're not going to get the right result you want. We also did a survey, all right? And this is quite interesting. many people think reward are not fairly distributed. Okay. No matter, I have come across a particular organization. I know the management are very fair. In fact, they are taking good consideration how they want to reward people. But whatever it is, as long as the decision-making process is still made, okay, is still made by the individual, okay, a decision made, I think you should get this amount of bonuses, you're going to have a problem. So a framework will actually eliminate all these things. When you make a decision, it is a global decision. It is a decision based on what the company has set and defined what you want to do in this manner. All right. So this is very important. Just to share with you this, these are two major problems. Okay. So you have a framework, then you need also to address this. Of course, the framework will address the second part on the reward distribution here. All right. So the conclusion is very simple. I will encourage, okay, organizations, okay, please address this. It looks insignificant, but actually it is the root of many, most of the organization problem driving performance. The bigger you are, the more headache you have, okay. I have a question. We do manage performance by evaluating individual operating unit and so forth, but the percentage is equal each level. Is it okay? Zuyani, the answer is not okay. If you want to distribute evenly across the different level, that means to say you're very unfair to the lower staff, because the senior manager will enjoy the benefits as long as they score well themselves. But when you are a senior manager, you are actually responsible for the organization and unit performance. I cannot have a GM tell me I do very well. Oh, I'm sorry, my unit didn't do well. No, you can't do that. Okay, so you by putting equal percentage equally to each level. Let me read out the question. Ziani said, we do manage performance by evaluate individual operating unit and organized performance, but the percentage assigned is equal each level. Is it okay? My answer is it's not okay. Okay, it's not okay. The framework is try to be fair. The higher you are, the more you are accountable for the performance of the organizations. I want to share with you this. Just to give you an idea, there was this organizations way back in 2014 cases. They have this problem in the sense that the staff are always marginalized, not because they intended to margin the staff, in the sense that how they do the allocation of bonuses is very interesting. They got 7 units. If the unit don't do well, let me just share what it is. This unit will give it less bonus compared to other units. Now, what is also interesting, this bonus will share among all the people in the unit. You understand what I'm saying? So then you have, of course, the head of the unit maybe evaluate differently, but then there are senior manager, there are managers, and because of this, they can rate themselves very high. So what happened is the distribution of bonuses will be less given to the lowest ranked staff, especially the executive level, the supervisory levels, and so forth. All right. So my answer to you, Dayani, is it's not acceptable. All right. Okay. Okay. So please, you have to change it. Okay. It's very important. Okay. If not, no point you have a framework. The framework was supposed to be effectively reward people. Take note, effectively reward people, not efficiently reward, effectively. There must be a method in which it's not a decision, management make a decision, but then you have to roll out in this manner. All right. Next part is this. One of the key funnel of reward and benefit structure is, first of all, you have to understand, what are we trying to do? Top management. We are trying to develop, retain, and recruit talent. So also, the other thing you need to do is you need to have what we call a dynamic profiling and proficiency model. This is also a very important part. Some of you who attended my last month session, I think you will, if you attended my last month, I have a free session on competency profiling, competency model. Okay, if you want the material, you can just send an email requested. My staff will send you the material, so that will give you an idea about profiling and proficiency models, what kind of competency model you can use to do that. All right. Okay, I have another question for Sharina. Department bring more profit, we're entitled for more bonuses than other. Will it demotivate other than atmosphere becomes competitive? Shireen, you asked a very important question here. All right. Now, let me just share with you this. Let me just go back here. Okay, I want to go back here and I want to share with you this. Let's look at performance distribution. Okay. Now, Shireen, it's very important here is this. The decision-making process, okay, must be based not on the decision make, sorry, my apology. Not decision make by how much bonuses I'm going to give to you. Now, very important part is now I actually make it very transparent and yet you were able to tell you. So let's say I got two senior managers, Sharina, I just want to share, I got two senior managers, okay? One from a business unit A, another one from business unit E. Now, interestingly, both of them score the same. They also get, let's say, 3.5 rating, each of them. However, the business unit B didn't do well, okay? What happened now is that the performance result between two of them will be different rating, because even though they had the same score, but because they run different unit, the rating was come in this manner. So in this case, now I don't have to go and allocate bonuses by department because this already take care of the distribution already. So that means to say I can lump everybody together because when you have a framework, it actually often do the distribution for you. At the end of the day, after I want to show to you, the company will decide the amount of bonuses to be distributed. You click on it, you will distribute at meeting. All we need to do basically is we need to how to say, make a decision of what distribution you want to do, and then we drive it out. Shireen, you see what I'm saying now? So of course, once you do a framework methodology, you don't have to worry about allocation of bonus by, but I just want to share before then they do like this. So it's not fair, all right? So framework solve many problems for you that you can see how we can actually solve the organization issue here. How to do the framework, that's another part of it. Let's don't worry about it. Shireen, have I answered your question? All right. So once you do this, right, transparent really, you don't have to worry who is more. Now I give you an example. Shireen, I want to share another example here. Let's say you have a senior manager in a unit, okay? We didn't do well. But you have a supervisor. Now the supervisor did very well, but he also will be affected by a smaller percentage of the result from operating unit. In this, let's assume organizations are the same. Now what happened now is this supervisor will not be marginalized by how things need to be distributed because he will actually score higher than the senior guys. Assuming, let's say he get 3.2, he got 3.4, but the final rating for a supervisor might be 3.4, his final rating may be 3.2 here. So you have to understand that this is basically what framework is all about. So which means to say, when I work with organization at the end of the year, one thing they love very much is this, they don't have to worry about a lot of things. Of course, some of them use their own method, doesn't matter. But one thing is this, you don't have to worry about the reward got to be due. I will show some of my cloud solutions so that you can see how it's been done here. Okay, Shireen, I hope I'll answer your question. Okay, I hope that answers your question, but let's now go back here. All right. Okay. Okay, so this is basically what we have covered today here. So I don't want to go too much in detail, but I'll just give you an overview. Anything you want, you can come back to me here. However, I have a good news for you. All right, all of you here. Now, I intend to run a workshop, which actually, of course, today is just an overview. I will go into in-depth using Smart Tool. As I mentioned to you, is that this workshop will look into frameworks and so forth. All right, just to share with you what it's all about. So basically, there are a couple of things that we do in this workshop, as I mentioned to you. Okay, we're going to look at not only competency model, we not only performance model, we also look at competency model that we want to do here. Now, the learning objective are quite straightforward. I want to make sure that all of you know how to do the. Okay, Victor Ong. Okay, I want to answer a few questions first. I think I see some organization moderates the final assessment by using bell curve to balance the result. Is this fair as may penalize the real top performers or inadvertently better reward lower performer? Victor, I am not a believer of bell curve. All right. I totally disagree on the bell curve. Now, first of all, you have to understand the history of bell curve. The bell curve came out in the 90s. It's by Harvard professors came out with the 90s. And simply because at that point, there's a lot of subjectivity. So if you use a framework, you can totally ignore the bell curve. However, let me qualify one thing is this. Before we go into a reward framework, you must moderate the result. Moderate result is because once you put it in, you say, okay, I think you get 3.5, no, I think you get 3.2 or whatever you come to, you moderate on that, but you don't penalize people. Like, for example, one company, 10 people, 3 people non-performer, 1 people super performer. You can't do that. All right. I will not agree on a bell curve. But if you use a framework like I have shared with you this, let me tell you one thing, you don't even bother to do the bell curve. All right. And very often you can see eventually it will be a natural bell curve. Of course, natural bell curve means it's not a perfect bell curve that it has to be 20% here, 20% there. You have his own graph, and every year the graph might change a little bit and so forth. All right, I'll show a real example of a natural bell curve. All right, so let's don't worry about that. Once you have framework, Victor, you don't have to worry about bell curve. That is one of the best thing to do is to eliminate bell curve. But how to eliminate bell curve? We need to have a proper method. So a lot of my clients, those who use, they actually eliminated the bell curve rate, and they agree with me that actually the solution to the problem is this, to use the distribution framework, okay, performance distribution framework, okay. So that is a very important part, okay. Now, next very important part basically is this. So in the two-day sessions, I will also going to give you something what we call competency frameworks. All right, this is something very powerful I want to share with you. Now, what is competency frameworks? We have done a lot of studies about the different model. In fact, all my clients, I always ask them to use profiling and proficiency model. This is a model that you're going to get. So this model is very powerful because what you have done basically is that in the past, when I have a competency, the description is across from the supervisor to the senior manager. All right, today is we don't do that. Actually, this is actually this model was based actually some Australian standard. They actually come up with this method. So what this method does is very simple. Is there are 4 levels. Now, then each job position will be assigned on a level. Now, from different functions, the level might change depending on the complexities and the requirement of a specific jobs. All right. So if I give a level 1, that means to say I will be assessed purely on level 1, and then whether I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or not, depend whether I meet all the requirement level 1. All right. So in this case, I will just explain to you. Now, this is a model that I'm going to give to you because you're going to have this model and you're going to give 20 competency with this 4-level assessment model. Now, if you're a senior guy, you're giving level 4 and you only meet part of the requirement, you might only get a rating of 3 and the staff will rating of 5 of level 1, rating of 3 of level 4. Now, the old traditional way of competency model, you had to throw out the window because it's not fair. I work with one multinational company and it's very interesting. I just want to share with you this. What happened is this. They didn't even know, until I tell them. I said, look, your model, you have a problem. I said, what's the problem? I said, all your top exam will get nothing less than 3. All your junior staff will always get 2 and below. Because the way the description are done in such a way is generalize everything. And chances is that the all executive cannot meet some of the requirement because some of the description are too high. All right. So at the end of the day, they did a survey. They were shocked. They found that 80% of the result, what I told them, is actually the problem. All right. So I think that's very important. Okay. So this is a model. So this is a very fair model. And all now my clients are using this model. In fact, one of my clients find this is very interesting because they can use this model for recruitment, for talent management. I'll explain to you some of the powerful methods. Okay. I'm going to answer another question. Ling. Is it still considered transparent if management moderate the end performance rating of the staff? Okay, Yaling, I think it's very important is this. It is very fair, I'll tell you why. You see, sometimes certain result, the staff think he done very well. Okay, he can key the result. We have to allow some time is that there's some subjectivity method. But of course, the staff and the boss will have to come together and agree that actually this rating should be like this. That's the reason why I want to share with you this. Of course, in the what they call special offer we're going to give you, I'm going to give you a very powerful moderating tools, all right, for everyone. It's not listed, but I'm going to do that. Unfortunately, this moderating tool is designed for cloud solutions, all right? But because it's going to stand alone, I'm going to come up with a moderating tool. It's simple enough for you to use, and you can actually even put in the result here, all right? So I can tell one thing, this is a fairest way of doing it already, other than I force rank you, okay? And then when you do a powerful moderating tool, you don't have to just give a numbers. It will not, if you have a distribution, it will not affect the whole distribution of it. All right, Victor on, can this assessment be done more frequently, say by annual instead of once a year? Okay, first of all, let's be very clear here. Performance management, there are two aspects. One is assessment, one is tracking. Okay, now tracking means what, you know? Tracking means if it's a KPI, I want to track beginning of year and how you perform until end of the year. So that is a tracking part. Now, of course, that is only used for KPI, but for competency model, it's used of course, you can assess him if you have a good system. You can not even assess him bi-monthly. I can even assess it. Bi-annually. I can even assess it bi-monthly. And at the end of the day, I know whether he performed or not. So when we talk about assessment, there are two parts. One is tracking. One is basically annual assessment here. Now, the competency model must be used very differently from KPI or for what they call work performance model, is that by right at the very beginning, this information should be used, sit down with the staff and define what are the things you want him to do, and you can move forward in this manner. All right. So I think that is a very important part, Victor. All right. When you said biannual, actually by right performance assessment, it's good to do biannual. I always recommend, but most companies only do most companies only do twice a year. I actually also, Victor, strongly recommend to do 3 times a year. Means why? The middle one is more for troubleshooting. Okay, it's actually to do troubleshooting because managing performance is very dynamic. You can agree on something, and then after that, by the middle of the year, it becomes irrelevant. Okay, Victor, I hope I answered your question there. Yeah, I totally support this one, but definitely I will. But most companies only do twice a year. Okay, good practices is to do 3 times a year. All right, so this is the model that I will look into it here. Okay, guys. So of course, that will share with you. This is a very important model. All right. Then I'll show how to conduct competing assessment. The session will teach you how do you conduct assessment. This is a skill, and this is also a technique. Because if you don't want to do assessment, so what most people say, 332, 3232, that is not assessment. That is just simply give numbers to whatever you want to do here. All right, so that is one thing that we do. Now, this 6 and 7, we recommend that, okay, you will be getting quite a lot of things. First of all, I'm going to give you the dynamic multi-dimensional learning tools here. Okay, you're going to experience, when I give you the PDF file, you also experience a little bit about this issue here. That means to say, you will able to interact and track data here, because I want this to be a learning tool. It cannot be just for the purpose of, how to say, purpose of training. So you can, so hopefully the material can be only not used in the training, used throughout the duration of a 1-year learning process and things like this. All right. We're also going to give smart tools. Okay. First of all, there are a couple of smart tools here. In fact, I'm going to add 2 more smart tools here, but one is moderating tool. Currently, I can't put in a moderating tool because the moderating tool we have today is designed for cloud solution. I need to design something which is more simplified. All right. But anyway, the current moderating that we have committed for this exercise, you have the distribution framework. You also have competency selection, so you can organize them in a proper manner. You're going to get 20 competency. Then you're going to have an assessment tool for competency model so that you can actually assess your people, come up with something like this and so forth. So you can actually do a couple of things in this manner here. All right. So you can see a couple of things in this expect here. Now, as I show you, we will give you a built-in 20 competencies. You can reorganize how you want to organize the semester, and of course, based on the latest competency model that we are going to give it to you here. All right. Then who to attend basically is especially manager, business leader, okay, practitioner, organization transformation team, who need to understand what are the things need to be done here. So this will be what we will recommend who should be attending here. So you need a team plus whatever it is, HR people, for example, you need to have a couple of people involved in this fundamental. I will strongly recommend you. Business leader, especially CEO of small company, because sometimes a small company you don't have HR, you can actually now drive it effectively if you want to do it. All right. So basically, it's this. Now, what is the investment structure? Now, let me just share with you a couple of things here. Now, for those participants in one whole year, when you attend the different KPI and the new norm, okay, the normal price is 1,250. All right. For those who attend, the special offer is 950 before the 3rd of September. Okay. For those who have attended KPI in the new norm, we're going to give you $100 discount. That is before you had to register before the 30th September 2021. So past participant, this is a benefit to you for simple reason is when you do the KPI, we never cover this part. Now, this is what I call the missing link. So you can now actually have a complete framework that you can actually now drive performance, not only from KPI standpoint, but from the framework standpoint. So you can actually put the whole things in the correct place here. All right. So I think that's a very important part here. Okay. Now we have a special offer just to share what the special offer. Now this is a very special deal. Okay. What is a special deal here is this. Those who attended before, okay, the 60 registered before the 16th of August, that is until next Monday, I'm going to throw in another very important what they call tool called the reward distribution. Now, this reward distribution tool will be bonus increment, okay? And of course, as I mentioned to you, I'm going to provide smart calibration tool. I did mention here. But this smart calibration will be not based on the cloud solution. It will be a special tool that's designed for you all so that you can actually use it. Our criteria is must be simple enough. So you will have what we call bonus tool. You can actually do your bonus distribution. You don't do manually. You don't use a bonus metric anymore. And here you can do pool bonus. You can use assigned bonus. At the same time, you can also do what we call increment. You can do the increment because I feel that after you learn the framework already, you must have a proper tool to help you to actually get the whole thing moving easily so that you can actually set up the whole thing in a very fair manner. So you can actually put it in this manner. But as I mentioned to you, Victor, I told you already, you don't put inside here until the results are moderated. After moderated the result already, you put it in here, you cannot moderate anymore. That means to say you cannot do the bonus distribution and then do moderation. Moderation must be done at the very beginning. Everyone agreed that the thing finalized already, then you only push into the reward distribution here. And once you go here already, there's no more moderation already. All right, so that's a very important part here. Okay, whether agree or disagree, management has decided to say there's no more moderation. Okay, so that is something that we're going to do here. Okay, so now to do this, I'm going to throw in another half day on reward distribution because I need to show you how to do reward distribution using smart tools and so forth and this. So these are all additional, but take note, you must register before the 16th of August, right? Organize who send more than 3 participants more, we're going to provide you something quite interesting, a performance management system like additions. All right, so that means to say you're going to get not only this, we're going to give you a performance system like addition. This Excel format, you can actually go into, we give you what we call a control smart module. And this smart module will then help to manage and all the details in the performance appraisal smart form, things like this. All right. So this is basically what you can going to get here. All right. Okay. Same thing. We're going to throw in another half-day training on how you can set up the whole thing here, because there's no point you have a system you don't know how to use. On top of that, I will throw in another 10% discount for those who send 3 participants plus all the things we throw in. Organizations who send more than 5 participants, I will upgrade you to a basic edition, not a light edition. Now, the difference between light edition and basic edition is that the basic edition can do a lot of things. It can set up the whole thing in that manner. Both are equally good, but of course, each of its own features and things like this. So that is to give you an idea. Now, let me just share with you our PMS solution. Just go in and share. This is our cloud solution. Okay, so you can actually log into the cloud solution. So these are cloud solutions. Okay, so you have the cloud solutions. Then you go into annual planning. Okay, remember I was telling, let's say I just show you the cloud solution annual planning. Hold on. Okay, then the framework. Remember I tell you the framework? The framework, what you have standard, it will show you all the framework here. So different people, different position, different level, the distribution will be very, very different. So you can see the frameworks, you can see all the various information inside here. All right. I'm not going to go into details, but anyway, I just want to share with you what other things that we've done here. All right. So these are very, very interesting so that you can actually look in this particular manner. Okay. All right. Questions? Why it goes into here? It shouldn't go into here. So obviously there's a return. Okay, guys, any questions? So I really hope that I give you an overview of things. Okay, we don't go into detail, but at least what I want to share with you. If you're interested, please, anyone want to know anything about the program, you can actually ask. Please feel free to ask. Okay. If not, I will just do a quick sum up of this thing. Okay. All right. Let's return back to the front page. Okay. Summary is very simple. We infer a strong framework. It is mission critical. And to do the framework, these are the few details you have to pay attention to here. All right. You will pay attention to. Now, at the same time, Pavi will send you the brochure. You can have a look at the brochure, all right? And also, Pavi will send you my PowerPoint presentation in PDF format so that you can actually work on it here, all right? So that's basically how the thing works here. All right, thank you very much. I think Pavi already sent to you. Please download it so that you have a free material. Now, when you go to a PowerPoint material, I just want to share, you can do exactly what I show you. You want to go in something, you just click on it, you go in. You want to go back, you just click the word backward. So please, when you download, play with it. If you do not know, please ask us any question. I really hope that you have learned something. It's not an easy subject matter to share, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Always remember, doesn't matter how you do, these are the details you must pay attention to if you want to develop framework. Okay. All right. Pavi also has sent you the brochure. You can actually download the brochure here. All right. Okay, if not, I hope that you have learned something, and I hope that it's provide you enough information, okay, to understand what performance framework is all about. Okay. If there's no questions, please stay safe. Okay. More important thing is that if you all have any more questions, please, you can always feel to ask me the questions. And of course, the other thing is that some of the past program, let's say, for example, some of you want to have any particular program pertaining to performance, please feel free, because every month we'll be organizing the free sessions. So I'm going to have another free session in September. I will let you know the topics as well. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hope you have a good time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, you can actually join our Telegram group. Just go to Telegram and join Perform community. All right. Okay, thank you very much.